No, I mean, I'm just saying that definitely the consulting industry and automation space in our realm will be disrupted, and it will be shifted. And instead of writing one single line of code, consultants will need to put the mega prompts that with the one kick, seriously, be able to return the automation worth of the 2,000 hours of work for one or few people, makes sense, in the one kick. So we're still going to be seeing people that can produce automation, but in a different ways, employing the smart technology that help them to do so.
Let me
Right?
build upon your analogy there for a second, right? Because you said instead of needing 5 or 10 automation engineers, test engineers, you only need 2. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to look around and go, what can I do with those other resources I just freed up? I don't know an organization that doesn't have a list of work they can't get to. Right? Think about it. Every CIO, every business unit, everyone has applications they want developed. They want modifications that need to be made. They have vulnerabilities to be patched. They have work to do. Right? So we're not going to, the needs are not going to go away. They're just going to shift. And to your point, if you look at the jobs report or the projections that were put out, I think it was by the Federal Reserve on the future of the economy, it actually talked about, for the first time ever, we've seen growth, increased demand for like English majors to help write prompts.
So, Alex, if that's true, why do we always hear about layoffs? Like Microsoft, Google got rid of AI, got rid of people, and they say because of AI, and also Facebook, if they have other areas they could work in.
So there's a couple factors at play here. First of all, these changes don't always happen instantaneously, right? We also see when somebody's laid off here, they get picked up over here. But where you pick up isn't necessarily reported, right? So there's a lot of dynamics there. So there's a lag around it. There's also, we hear about the layoffs. We don't necessarily hear about the hiring. As a matter of fact, I think in the past 2 days, I've gotten probably a half dozen notices for people that are hiring, asking if I know anybody, right? So while you hear about this, does happen. The other thing is there's a lot of other factors going on, especially, big companies and all. One thing is organizations tend not to let people go until they have, for lack of a better term, a cover story, right? There's other things that could be going on. We have a lot of geopolitical uncertainty right now. We have a lot of uncertainty around tariffs and other dynamics, which have long been reported, and I've heard from clients, it's causing organizations to hold off on reduction in force, but also holding off on hiring, right? So these transition times tend to be a little funky, for lack of a better word. You also run into skill mixes, because just because you have somebody doing testing doesn't mean you can automatically turn that person into a developer.
Yeah, Alex, I'm not talking about how those people will find a further careers. Definitely, I mean, I wish everyone well. I wish everybody I know and working with our technology and coming in our industry all the best. I mean, I don't have any bad intentions, if you will, right? But I tend to say the truth, what I know. I mean, my privilege in the market that I basically have opportunity to speak freely here than some of my colleagues, even the CIOs and my competitive technology that we compete on the market, right? I can be less corporate oriented, let's put it this way, right? That gives me more advantage edge, if you would. So I tell you, I'm gonna tell the how I historically see that. So historically, all the load was on the coders. So if the manager had the budget, they would spend this budget to hire automators rather than protect the SMEs that possess the knowledge of the application of the subject matter expert, right? So that was impacting the quality of automation in general, because you have less people that know what needs to be automated and more people could craft the code to speed up the productivity. Right now, with what I'm bringing to the market, all the managers and the teams of the companies can focus more on the subject matter expertise. So it's not just helps them to drive automation faster, because it will be more precise if it's driven by SMEs from soup to nuts, if you will, right? But also give opportunity to spend budget toward permanent teams, people that been with the company the longest, that possess knowledge of the application, all the details of the business logic of those applications. Those are the valuable resources for any company. You and I, we've been in our career to the most mission-critical gigs of the Fortune 500 companies. I possess so much information in my experience. I've seen all these loopholes that other people had not. Why? Because you physically cannot be in every Fortune 500 company war rooms, and I had. This is why I spent the 10 years on the road, repacking and moving on like a special ops operative, right? And I have this knowledge that I implement today in my software that tells the truth to the industry, that helps without any corporate dance to deliver in the most mission-critical fashion. Make sense? And what I'm bringing into the market right now with ZAPTEST, shift of culture. Today, we finally, I call it record and playback reinvented, because we finally, in 20 years, able to give to the market what market eventually was expected from automated tools, where I can give it to my business analysts, my manual testers, and this lady without coding experience, for example, be able to drive it from beginning through the whole scenario to the mass execution with the analysis report as it.
Yeah, I think you hit upon something very critical there. One of the things that happens with any form of automation, because you're transferring a lot of that work to the machine, is it allows the human to better understand the business or the mission or the process, right? And sometimes that's the higher order function. Specifically at testing, I remember a few years ago, a large financial services firm, long-term client, they saw a lot of demand coming in, and we used automation to actually RPA, robotic process automation, a kind of form of AI, to increase productivity of the team, and we achieved a 47% increase. Good news, bad news. Great results. Bad news is management comes back and says, oh, then you don't need as many people on your team. Now, the reality, they were trying to figure out how to make their team more effective to hit increased demand. Management had them cut some resources. So in 6 months, they had to go and hire some people. It's one of those knucklehead things you hear and see all the time. But really, the point of the story is when they had to make those cuts and they had to figure out who to keep and who to let go. The folks they kept were the folks that understand the applications. They understood the purpose of the role, right? The purpose of the role in testing is not to find errors, but it's to find things that don't align with the business and the requirements, right? If somebody didn't code something in a certain sexy way, if it works and it's not going to get in the way, it's not going to cause a maintenance problem, that is not as much of a concern as uncovering a requirement that was never documented.